gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's January 25th, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And the Matt Shodell love train has pulled into the station once again here this morning. And we have lots of good stuff to talk about, lots of commentary, I'm sure, to get the Matt Shodell fan club all lathered up this morning, as he does seemingly every single morning now, even though he wants off this show. And I'm not going to let him because people love him too much. But so, Matt, with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the news of the day. And I'm going to start with Ole Miss safety transfer Tysheem Johnson visiting Miami. Came out of nowhere, and now it's looking like Miami is going to be battling Oregon for his commitment and transfer. And initially, I think we were kind of surprised by this, just because it came without warning. But when you look into it deeper and you start to see the quality of player that Johnson is, and you really look at the reality of Miami's roster and Miami's safety situation, you start to say, maybe the guys are onto something with this one, Matt. This is a kid who, when you look at his season last year, he had 78 tackles. Okay. Now, Cam Kinchins is being rated as the top safety in America by some people. He only had 59 tackles in 12 games last season. This kid had 79. Okay. James Williams only had 58 tackles last season. This kid had 79. I could go down the list and look for a backup safety. For example, Brian Ballum is back. He didn't even play. He doesn't even show up on the stat sheet. He had one tackle in 11 games the entire season, one tackle. So Miami's not real solid, Matt, at the safety position. They could use this guy from Ole Miss. Your thoughts?
Well, I think Miami's looking at him as a potential, at least they're selling him on, hey, you can come in and start at star/nickel, which Corey Couch is the returning starter. And also, if James Williams is in the box, this kid could also play in the box. They'll get him involved in the game. I'm not particularly thrilled if they do end up taking him because that's just how I am. Gary just looks at, hey, he had a lot of tackles. Well, that's great, Gary. But he also missed 14 tackles last year. He missed 12 tackles the year before. He was targeted in the receiving game 31 times. This is according to Pro Football Focus, okay? He was targeted 31 times in the passing game last year in situations where he was in coverage. They completed 26 of those passes for 284 yards and 2 touchdowns with a long of 51. And his freshman year, the year before, he wasn't much better. They were 30 for 41 passing for 290 yards. So I don't, there's a disconnect to me.
Look at Brian Ballum on Pro Football Focus, Matt.
Well, so that's the thing. So if you want a backup safety, great. But I'm not looking in the transfer portal for a guy who's going to be a backup. I'm looking for guys who are going to be a starter and national championship caliber players. Is he that? According to those statistics, he's not even close. But with that said, I don't understand because those are the numbers. And yet Pro Football Focus gave him a 72% cover grade last year, even though almost every pass thrown his way was completed. I don't understand it.
Well, because there probably were a lot of plays where he covered his guy and it wasn't thrown his way.
His tackle grade 2 years ago was 40%, which is just horrendous. It was much better this past year. Still not great, but it was better. 68% is good, good enough. But there are some reasons for concern, despite having so many tackles, Gary. So if you just want a guy who had a lot of tackles last year, great. But if you look inside the numbers, Like, I'm not sure he's a championship level player. Therefore, because he's not going to be gone after a year, I'm not sure I would take him. But, Mario is having him visit and would take him. So, that's the disconnect between Mario Cristobal and myself.
Okay, as usual, I disagree. Okay, here's why. Okay, this is a kid that in the SEC, okay, the Southeastern Conference, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, for starters, okay, that recruit pretty well, okay, at the defensive back position. This kid was an SEC all freshman pick in 2021.
Yeah,
wait a minute.
Any freshman
wait a minute. After starting 11 games as a true freshman.
Right. That's why he's all freshman.
For a decent team in the SEC.
Because at Alabama, freshmen aren't starting. At Ohio State, freshmen aren't starting. At the top programs in the SEC, freshmen aren't starting. So, of course, he's the all-freshman team. He was on a team that had no real talent ahead of him, so he got to start. He graded out at 40%. He missed 11 tackles. They completed 70% of passes for 290 yards against him. But he's the all-freshman team, so Gary will take him. I mean, I can't even start. I have no more interest in this conversation.
Oh my God! You could ruin a perfect
Take everybody
day.
from the SEC, Gary. Take everybody.
You could ruin the perfect day, Matt Shodell. You find a negative slant to everything. Listen,
you could take the entire Vanderbilt team, all their backups. You'd love to have them at Miami. I understand that, but for me, I wouldn't take all the Vanderbilt backups. You can take them all.
Okay, you have Cam Kinchens and you have James Williams, who we're not even sure is really a safety. Let's be honest. Okay, he really probably should be playing outside linebacker. Okay,
what don't you understand about this guy? Played a lot of nickel last year. You keep saying safety. He's really a nickel star who can be a backup safety.
Great, whatever you're looking at a position, okay, where you've got Cam Kinchens, who without question is a very good player. James Williams, that you don't even really know, if you're honest, is really a safety. And then you get to the backups. Brian Ballum, who hardly plays. Markeith Williams, who has done nothing yet. And true freshman Caleb Spencer, who has done absolutely nothing yet. Okay? Now, you have a chance to bring in a guy that's played 2 seasons in the SEC. Okay? Was all freshman. You can poo-poo it all you want. You can, diminish it all you want. I get what you are saying. You're saying...
No, you don't.
You're saying the best freshmen don't get to play because there are upper-class defensive backs at Georgia and Alabama.
Here's what you never grasp, okay?
I'm going to give you credit. That is a great point. Okay, that's
that's not even the point that matters. What you never seem to grasp is he's a sophomore. He's going to be a junior. So there will be another spot that could have gone to a 2024 safety in next year's class that probably won't go to that person because you got this guy for another year after this. I'd rather take the 4 or 5 star safety.
You're assuming that now here you're kind of contradicting yourself a little bit.
Not at all.
Frankly. Well, you're sitting there saying on good teams in the SEC, the freshmen don't play, but you're suggesting that Miami is going to recruit a freshman safety better than this guy, and therefore they shouldn't take him in the transfer portal to help them this year. And I think that is a bold assumption.
Do you think
Miami just recruited Caleb Spencer? Is Caleb Spencer going to walk in, Matt, and just suddenly start dominating the safety position for Miami? Not very likely.
That's not how you build a team. You don't play freshmen. Do you think this is a national championship caliber player? Right. Yes or no?
Wait a minute. No. But you just said
it.
You just said it again. You just contradicted yourself again. You don't play freshmen. Okay.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So then why are you knocking them for bringing this guy who's going to be a third-year player onto the roster so that you don't have to play a freshman?
Because you never listened to me. I'm not trying to win a national championship this year. I'm trying to build a program that's going to compete for national championships 2 to 3 years out and then every year thereafter. To do that, you're not taking transfers that aren't championship level players. You're taking a freshman in 2024 who's a safety, who's going to be ready to step in 2 to 3 years and fill the gap for Caleb Spencer when he's ready to play in a couple of years at a championship level caliber. I don't need guys who I don't think are championship level players right now that aren't just going to be gone in a year. Like, I don't mind taking this guy if he's off the roster after this season because you need to start stacking classes. And you can't stack classes when you're taking double-digit transfers, 12 last year. Now we're at 10 this year, probably going to wind up with a few more after the spring period opens up. That's not for me. I don't need 25 transfers on a roster That's what they're doing.
Let me ask you a question.
For you, that's not how you build a championship program. You can look at the blueprint that Mario talks about. It's not by taking 12 transfers every year. That's not the blueprint that Mario talks about. Yet that's what he's doing. That's a disconnect. I don't understand why he can't just play to win a national championship in 2 to 3 years, and instead of trying to win 9 or 10 games this year. Like, that's not for me, bro.
You're okay if they go 5-7 again?
I don't think they will, but if that's what it takes to win a national championship in 2 years, yeah, I'd rather win 5 games this year and win a national championship or compete for one in 2 to 3 years than win 8 games this year and 8 games next year and then 9 games the year after and then maybe 10 games in 4 years.
They go
that's not for me.
5-7 again. How are they supposed to recruit the kind of players that they're going to need to compete?
They just recruited a top 5 class with 5 wins. Why can't they do it again? He's a master recruiter. He can work around anything. You win 5 games again, you sell recruits on. Look what's happened. Look at the coaching staff we have. Look at the opportunity you have to come in. Look at the last class we had. You're going to be the class behind those guys. Those 2 classes will win championships. You'll play early as part of those 2 classes. You will be a household name in Miami. You go to an Alabama, you'll be sitting for 3 years to win championships. At Miami, you'll be starting on a championship team in 2 years. Like, it's not that hard to sell it. That's how it's done. Mario did it at Oregon. He did it at FIU. He'll do it at Miami. You don't have to win 10 games this year to be a top recruiter.
Hey, when you wake up in the morning, do you look in the mirror?
Absolutely not.
Well, I want you, when we're done with this show, I want you to go look in the mirror. And you're going to notice the gray coming in on the side of your head, okay? You're not getting any younger, man. Like, how many of these 5-win seasons do you want to cover? Do you want to sit through? Do you think that our viewers, our fan base, our subscribers at CaneSport.com, how many of these things do you want everybody to sit through? Like, last year was the most miserable experience you could ever have if you're a Canes fan. They lost all those home games. I mean, we couldn't even win at home. And you're going to knock the coaches for trying to improve the roster so that they don't win 5 games again this year? I mean, like, you have to put the best team that you can put together without question.
So you want me to look in the mirror? Let me ask you this. Have you watched the same?
I want you to see that you're not getting younger.
My mother-in-law tells me I'm gray every time I see her. I don't have to look in the mirror to know that. Have you? You asked me to look in the mirror.
Does she really do that?
Yeah. Have you watched? Yeah, receding hairline and you're turning gray. That's her. That's her motto when it comes to me. You tell me to look in the mirror. Have you watched the same movie, whether you love it or hate it? Have you watched the same movie over and over and over again? Is that something you enjoy doing, Gary? Do you enjoy watching the same movie over and over?
I don't want to see
Nobody does. So why should I have the same exact thing that's been going on since Manny Diaz became the Portal King? Why do I need to watch that same movie again? I want something different, and I can see the path to it with a great recruiter. A great recruiter doesn't take secondhand guys from other programs who have 2 or 3 years left to play. A great recruiter takes a top prospect. Let me finish, because you're wrong. You want to interrupt. A great recruiter takes a prospect who out of high school and develops him in his own program, not in some other program for a couple of years, in his own program, in his own image, in his own culture. You develop that player from the second he gets to college. You turn him into what you want him to be, a beast on the field and half a beast off the field, because you got to be nice to people off the field. And that's how you build a program, not taking a Missouri guy who's been in a different culture for 2 years and hoping he meshes in well and hopefully he can be a good backup to Cam Kinchens and James Williams when James Williams isn't in the box. And maybe he can compete with Corey Couch at nickel. And hey, we'll have him back another year from now and maybe he'll do the same thing. No, do something different. I've seen this movie. I don't like this movie.
Because you're going to bring in a true freshman that's going to be better next year.
Or in 2 years, or in 3 years. You stack classes. That's the blueprint Mario's talking about.
Bringing this guy in does not keep you from doing it.
Recruit, hard work, culture, results. Not recruit some kids. Other kids you take as transfers. You can't take as many recruits because of that. And then, hopefully it all works out. That's not the blueprint Mario wants. He's being forced into a box by people like you who think they have to win 9 or 10 games this year to recruit. It's not true.
Taking Tysheem Johnson does not preclude them from recruiting any elite safety in the top 2024 or 2025 recruiting class.
Miami's taking two free agents out of 10 transfers this cycle. That doesn't do it for me. Last year, they took 2 out of 12. That doesn't do it for me. If you want to take free agents in the portal, I'm fine with it, but then take free agents. This guy's not a free agent to me. I'm sorry.
So we have one of the stories that we have on the website today is an update with IMG Academy 4-star safety Jordan Johnson Rubel, who the Canes seem to be doing relatively well with. But so you've got that update on the website today. But Matt, my point is this: taking Tysheem Johnson in no way, shape, or form impacts the recruitment of Jordan Johnson Rubel in the 2024 recruiting class.
Do you not understand how numbers work? They have 85 spots every single year. 2024 is the last year of unlimited scholarships for recruits. You can take 50 recruits. You can take 85 recruits next year. It's the last time you can do that. If you have another guy on the roster who's, by the way, they're going to be at the 85 limit this year. Okay, I think they're 1 or 2 off right now. They're going to be really close to it, if not at it. They have, I want to say, 8 or 9 seniors leaving. You can kick off as many kids as you want. The only kids you probably can't kick off are the transfers you've taken, because the NCAA is really banning the 2-time transfer rule. They're trying to do away with it. For kids who want exemptions, it's going to be really hard now. So you can end a kid's career, Gary. I know you're a big fan of that. Oh, he doesn't work out. Just jettison him. Whatever. Who cares? Like,
this kid was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school.
Listen, the other issue is, believe it or not, recruits do consider depth on the roster, along with NIL and other things, and they do want to have a chance to play right away. And when you fill up your roster with numbers of guys, whether they're good or not, it's just another number. And coaches also look at the numbers by class and the numbers overall by position. They feel better about it. If you have, 12 offensive linemen, are you going to take 5 offensive linemen in the next class? Probably not. But if you did try to, maybe you can get 5 5-stars. I don't know. But guess what? They took 2 transfers on the offensive line last year, 2 more this year, and they might all work out. But that's 4 guys who could have been recruits being developed in the next class. Those are just 4 spots in the offensive line. I'm not saying they're wrong to take Javion Cohen. Obviously, you take him as a free agent.
You think?
Matt Lee is a free agent. You take him too. But I'm just saying, when you look big picture at numbers,
you let yourself suck at safety. You let yourself suck at safety because these offensive linemen that are free agents are going to make your offense better, but then you're going to give up touchdowns going the other way because you can't cover anybody.
Well, what I'm trying to explain to you, because you don't seem to understand it still, taking him, if you do take him, you're saying, oh, now they're not going to take this 4-star safety. They're not going to take somebody else because of it. They're going to play at 85 next year. He's going to be one of the 85. That one spot would have been open for a free agent transfer or for a recruit. It's just a fact. Like, the fact you don't seem to understand that, and you don't want to name one guy, oh, now they're not going to take this one guy because of him. They're not going to take somebody next year because of him, because he's going to be one of the 85 roster spots. It's mathematics, Gary. It's a fact. You can make fun of it. You can say it's wrong, but that's like saying—
I don't think they're good enough as they sit right now at safety. I think this makes them better at safety.
You probably don't even know what color the sky is. What color do you think the sky is?
I don't know. Right now, I'm trying to figure out why my hair looks so gray in this picture this morning. Because
what color is the sky?
I am not this gray. You're gray. I am not this gray.
You know what color the sky is?
Blue?
No, it's not blue. Look it up, okay? It's purple. The sky's purple. It just happens to appear to us through our perception as blue because that's just the way our eyes work. The sky's actually purple if you break it down scientifically.
Are your eyes blue?
Which proves to me that you don't understand facts.
Are your eyes blue?
You think the sky is blue. That's how deluded you are.
Are your eyes blue?
No.
They look blue on the screen right now.
Google it, Gary. What color is the sky? And you'll find out the sky's actually not blue.
All right, so listen, we're going to agree to disagree. I think this. I don't
agree to disagree. I just disagree. I don't agree to anything.
Disagree. Great. I want to be on record. I think that if Miami is able to land Tysheem Johnson, that will make them better at the safety position in 2023 and 2024. We'll see what happens. I personally hope they get him. All right.
He's not even going to play safety, but that's great.
All right, moving on. We've got another story today on 2023 Chicago defensive tackle Jamel Howard Jr., who's visiting this weekend. We talked to his high school coach, who weighs in on a number of subjects, Matt. And the thing that I found most interesting about this story, and everybody can read it, is he makes it clear that while Miami is playing catch up here, we already knew that he does think that it's a ball game. Like he thinks that the fact that Howard is coming and that he did look it did seem intrigued about the Hurricanes when all this dialogue started that ended up in this visit, that he thinks that there is a chance for Miami. But no matter who you talk to, really including Howard himself, the one common thread that we get is if you're going to land Mr. Howard, you better win over Mama Howard on this visit this weekend. She has a huge influence on where her son's going to end up going. And she's been to both Wisconsin and Michigan, and he's not signed by either of those schools yet. So that tells me that Mom has not been overwhelmed by either of those two schools. And Miami does have a great shot, but they do have to win over Mom this weekend.
Once again, you're missing the actual story here. So this is really interesting because Jamel Howard is a unicorn for Mario Cristobal. It's an amazing thing that nobody talks about anymore. Jamel Howard was the norm for the previous, gosh knows, however many coaches. Gary's been covering the team since Andy Gustafson. I've been covering it since Butch Davis. Every coach I've ever covered, there was always this late scramble with numerous recruits who just came on the radar from out of nowhere because Miami was scrambling when they missed out on some guys. This is the only guy that Mario is scrambling to try and get. Like, he hit on everybody, or he had a big enough net. Like, he is so on top of recruiting. Like, I can't tell you how impressed I am with Mario Cristobal and the way he recruits. He's precise.
As long as he's not recruiting transfers that are going to have fill depth on the team.
That's the thing. He's such a good recruiter. Why waste your time on transfers? Because, let's face it, transfers.
Because you need to recruit them.
Transfers are not really recruits, right? Transfers are retreads unless they're free agents. But my point is, he is so on point with how he recruits high school prospects, not just in evaluation and bonding with families and the group chats and how he personally takes a hand in every single recruitment, but just the fact that he casts the net the way he does, to the point where there's not 5 to 10 guys, which has been the norm in the past, 5 to 10 guys that, here's a new name that Miami's now recruiting. Here's a new name that Miami's now recruiting. And very rarely do they win out because, let's face it, other schools have already been chasing most of those guys, unless they're Evan Sharef type guys. Most of them have been chased by numerous programs. I mean, let's face it, the guy Miami just got on 2 weeks ago. I mean, LSU's recruiting him. Michigan's been recruiting him. Wisconsin, like, these aren't nobody schools, And Miami, for whatever reason, I guess that's the one scramble is a defensive tackle, because they do obviously need some young defensive tackles on this roster that are really good. But the point being, this is a unicorn. This is not normal. And that's fantastic news for Miami fans, because this is no longer business as usual. This is no longer that same movie I keep talking about. It's not the same movie we're watching over and over and over again. This is different. This is better. And that's why I also think in the portal, we already saw when they tried to take numerous transfers. Now they're even taking more than what they've taken in the past. I've seen that movie too. It doesn't usually work out in terms of being a national champion or even competing for the ACC. Even with Jalen Phillips, who was a first rounder, even with Jose Borregales, who won the Groza Award, even with, you go down the list, Bubba Bolden, they've had so many really, really great transfer portal guys. But the way the transfer portal works is they're here for a year and they're gone. And it doesn't help you build the culture of winning. It doesn't help younger players learn behind them for multiple years and then step into their shoes. It is not a winning formula. Mario knows the transfer portal is not a long-term winning formula, but he's being forced into it by people like Gary Ferman, and it's unfortunate.
It's all my fault.
It's Gary's fault.
Miami's roster, listen, we're doing this 30 for 30, right? Okay, and today we have number 9. Okay, we're on the 9th best player on the team now. Okay, that's had any reasonable experience, 30 or more reps in the past year. Okay, Andy Borregales, the kicker, is the 9th best player, on this team. This roster is not good yet, Matt, and it needs all the help it could get. I am sorry. And no, they do not want to go 5-7 again. They are going to make their team the best they can make it and then go try to win as many games as they can.
I mean, you can take the 1 year at a time.
You can blame me all you want. That I'm a proponent of this strategy or whatever you want to call it. Your strategy,
unfortunately, is a 1 year at a time approach. I don't think that's the view Miami should be taking, because this 1 year at a time approach and just try to win this.
That was for you, Jay Collette.
Guys have been, first of all, like I explained to you, it's not even the correct expression, but whatever. But this 1 year at a time approach, they keep trying it because every coach is, after the first couple of years, they feel like they're on the hot seat to win right away. And they keep trying to win that year instead of building a program that's sustainable. You can't build a program that's sustainable with transfers, with retreads. You just can't.
Okay,
And
but you're not there yet.
You need to stack classes. In order to stack classes, you need to have open scholarships. And taking 12 transfers last year and 12 again this year, probably, they already have 10, is not the way to stack classes, unfortunately. Like, I'm sorry. Even if they're only here for 1 year, if you take enough of those guys, at some point, it's costing you scholarship spots that you could leave open, for a late qualifier or whatever. I mean, there's just, it is what it is in a sense.
I haven't seen them sacrifice one scholarship spot yet.
Well, we don't know because we don't know how.
Ever. They were below the 85 limit last year.
Here's the part that you don't consider, right? When they look at the numbers, right? They say, oh, we need 2 veteran receivers, right? We need Frank Ladson and Colby Young because we have no veteran receivers, right? So that's fine. But what you're not considering is they could have taken an extra freshman receiver who wouldn't have been ready. But a couple of years from now, maybe that receiver would hit big. We don't know. You don't know what would have happened if they said, let's just target 2 more freshman receivers instead, even if they're going to 3-star level guys who they think have a lot of potential. You don't know, but they opted to balance the roster by class, which is fine to an extent because they're super young still. They have barely any seniors leaving.
Why are you talking like that?
Because it's
mesmerizing.
Because it's a mesmerizing.
It's like you're trying to rhyme. Like, what are you doing?
Look, the point is, the win now approach is great if you do win now. I don't think they're ready to win a championship right now. So I'm looking down the road. How can they get?
Dreaming that they're ready to win a championship, but before they can win a championship, they got to win more than 5 games, Matt. And to get better than 5 wins, they got to get better as a roster. To get better as a roster, you better be able to have somebody that can be somewhat competent if Cam Kinchens and or James Williams needs to come off the field.
I just happen to disagree with you. I mean, Alabama, right? 2003, they're 4-9. 2004, they're 6-6. 2 years later, they're 6-7. The year after, they're 7-6. They were building those 4 years.
Mid-October, the PA announcer at Hard Rock Stadium. Your starting lineup tonight, starting at safety, Brian Ballum and Caleb Spencer. How's that sound to you?
I mean, whatever. Nick Saban came in and his first team was 7-6. That's okay. And he quickly turned it into a champion, but he didn't do it by taking transfers and trying to win right now. He did it by consecutively stacking classes, and he already had some talent on that roster.
If a starting safety is needed to be the 3rd guy, I like this guy that's played 2 years at Ole Miss. That's
you
made
that clear. I'm not
that's all I'm saying, man. To me, like, that makes them better. So we'll see. But I also think that they do need a big body inside, and I hope that they do a good job this weekend with Jamel Howard as well. I'm not. He's not. I don't think he's replacing Darryl Jackson. Man for man, but.
Just share your blueprint. What's your blueprint? Maybe I'll change my mind. What's your blueprint for how they can be a championship team in 2 to 3 years? What's your blueprint?
Got to keep recruiting at the level they're recruiting, so that they have 3 recruiting classes back to back, like this last one.
And what about the transfers?
Nothing to do with transfers.
Can you keep taking 10 transfers a year? Is that your opinion also?
No, because you're not going to have the attrition as your roster gets better.
Right.
You're not going to have the attrition that they've had the last 2 years.
So then you're not a fan of taking like redshirt freshmen and sophomore transfers, basically, right? Because they're stuck on your roster for a while.
They got to be able to play. I agree with you on that because you're not going to keep having the same.
This kid's a sophomore with a redshirt year available. So he gets hurt. He's redshirting. He's here for 3 years. Like, I don't know what to tell you. How you can play both sides and you claim
like, for example, Corey Flagg's going to be a junior this year, right? This would probably, I got to believe, be his, could be his last year. I mean, at some point you need to be better than that, I think, at linebacker.
But your whole thing is you need him there for deep depth. You need someone to practice. Like,
But
I don't understand you.
no, but here's the thing. But I don't think you're going to have the attrition like they've had the last 2 years. So no, you're not going to be able to keep taking the same number of transfers.
How can they not have the attrition, Gary? They have 8 or 9 graduating seniors. You want to take 25 to 35 kids this class. The last time you could take unlimited numbers. How do you not have attrition?
Yeah, I'd have to go count it up once the roster's final to see if I see another 12.
Go look at the eligibility tracker. Go look at the tracker.
Yeah, I know I will, but we got to let the whole thing get final first because I think there's still going to be some guys leave after spring. I just do. So I don't know where we got to look at it in August, but I don't think you're going to have 20 guys leaving after this year.
So you're going to take you're going to take like 15 recruiting class of 10 to 15 is what you're doing.
It's going to be very interesting to see
because you have so many transfers.
No, I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
If those transfers weren't on the roster next year, they could take 20 to 25 recruits. And this is the point I was trying to make to you when you're like, the transfers aren't going to cost you any spots.
You're saying,
of course they cost you spots.
So what you're saying is go with like an 80-man roster this year or a 77-man roster.
Or just take guys who are gone after 1 year. I mean, if you look at the eligibility tracker, I'll just look at it real quick, right? So these are transfers they've already taken who will still be here, not this coming year, but the year after, okay? Let's just go through it real quick. Henry Parrish is a junior this year, so he'll still be here. That cost them a spot in the class of 2024, just if he's still on the roster, which I don't know how you get rid of him unless he's a graduate. I guess then he could transfer a second time. So that's one. Colby Young will still be here. That costs a spot. Maybe these guys are worth it, by the way, but they'll still be here. Javion Cohen will still be here if he's not in the NFL. Matt Lee will still be here, costing a 2024 spot if he's not in the NFL. That's 4 guys. Moving over to defense, Messidor will still be here if he's not in the NFL. That's 5. Thomas Gore will still be here if they can't get him to leave. That's 6. These are just the juniors, by the way, that are going to be seniors after this year. So they'll be juniors this year. They'll be seniors the following year in 2024. Darryl Porter was taken last year as a transfer. That's 7. Devontae Brown would cost a 2024 spot. That's 8. And now we'll move over to the guys who will be sophomores this year that were transfers. Dennis is 9. Sagapolu is 10. Let's see if there's any other sophomores they took as transfers. That's 10. So just off the top of my head, that's 10 guys who you could have 10 open spots for 2024 that instead they have transfers on the roster. And maybe it's better for some of them to be here. I don't know. Like, that's not my job, but I'm just saying that's just numbers. That's just facts. Those are 10 guys. And if they take this guy who's visiting now, that's 11 guys. So that would be 11 open spots in the class of 2024 that are no longer going to be open spots. And that's just off the top of my head looking at this list. I might be missing somebody, but.
All right. Well, we could debate this for hours, and I don't think we'd get anywhere, but I just think they have to make the team as good as they can now, worry about the rest later. And it looks to me like that's what they're trying to do. So obviously Mario and the staff agree with me, which is not a surprise.
They do. There's no doubt about it. They agree with you. They want to win now. There's no doubt about it. I'm debating if it's the best strategy. I think they feel pressure to win now, especially after winning 5 games.
Who wants to win 5 games again?
Right. Well, I think that, but I think Mario fell in the same trap last year.
You can excuse that away once. You're not going to be able to excuse it away again next year.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to belabor it. It's already been 30 minutes, but this was the trap he fell into last year where he thought he could win right now. And he took all these transfers, try to win right now. And at this time last year, you were saying they need to take transfers to win right now. They could win 10 games this year, 11 games this year. And they fell into the trap and it didn't work. And now they're stuck with some of these guys, which is the 11 number I just talked about.
Who do you consider them stuck with?
Darryl Porter, I don't think it's championship level. I mean, of the 11 guys I just named, Gary, they're going to be back in 2024. Yeah. Not even mentioning the guys who are just here this year.
You think
there's 11 guys, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 of them are championship level, maybe.
So you're saying they're stuck with Darryl Porter?
I'm saying if he's a graduate senior,
with Henry Parrish.
If they're, unless
he's probably going to start at running back.
Well, when I say they're stuck, if they graduate, Mario maybe could make a case for we just don't need you here anymore. We need to find some other guys.
Colby Young.
We need a different roster spot for a 2024 player. When I say stuck, it's because they've already transferred once. You can't transfer a second time. I think there could be an exception for graduate transfers unless the NCAA does something about that too, because the NCAA is crazy. But yeah, I mean, you're somewhat stuck with them. You take a transfer in this day and age, you have to plan to basically have them the rest of their careers because otherwise their careers are over for the most part.
All right, we have a few more things to talk about today.
By the way, because if they're that good, you want them on the roster, and if they're that bad, no one's going to take them. So like that. So you're basically saying goodbye
We have a few more things to talk about today, but first, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet. What the heck's going on, man? Who's hacking the console?
Wasn't me.
Let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet. Can we please?
No.
Hey sis, want to play one-on-one? What about 3-on-3? Let's do it. You're not Haley. Wait a minute.
Life Wallet user not detected.
I knew it.
Secure your health information and privacy with Life Wallet. Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
All right. We have some recruiting stuff to talk about, but let's first touch on the basketball team, Matt. Blowout victory last night at Florida State. They were unbelievable. The first 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the game opened up a massive 20-point plus lead by halftime. Maybe I'm crazy, and I know I'm supposed to be the positive guy here in this operation, but I didn't like the way they played the last 20, 25 minutes of the game. I thought they got very sloppy. And I know that they were able to even extend the lead a little bit. They won by, I think, 28 points. But I would have liked to see them kind of build on what they did early. They were making a lot of shots and get some of these young guys some more playing time. At the end of the game when those young guys went in, it was like, oh, my God, cover your eyes. I mean, they're not getting a chance to develop the young players in the program because of all the close games they've been playing. And by opening up the big lead, I thought they had a chance to do that at Tallahassee, and they never really got to it because they just couldn't sustain the high-quality level of their play to where Jim Larrañaga felt comfortable taking the starters out. Your thoughts on the game?
I mean, Florida State was about as excited to play this game as I am to be on this show.
But I thought
Florida State's awful, was awful. But you mentioned the depth. Miami, look, Jim Larrañaga is great at piecing together a team, coaching a team, getting the right personalities together, and all that stuff. What he's not, if there's ever going to be a criticism of him, it's that he doesn't really ever expand the rotation to a huge number early in the season like a lot of other teams do, because he doesn't want to risk losing a game that they shouldn't, because oftentimes his teams are just right on that cusp of the NCAA tournament where they're going to be, a 9 seed, a 10 seed. He can't afford to have an upset where a younger player might cost him a game. But in the big picture, it does cost Miami because at the end of the season, they haven't built a depth. And then the next year, they don't really know what some of the younger guys maybe will definitely be able to do. You got to bring in some more transfers, which is okay. The transfers have worked out fine. But to your point, there's not, we don't know the depth because early in the year when most other teams are playing, 8 or 9 rotation guys, Miami's still just playing the 7. And, it is what it is. I think they have 4 really, really good guys. And they really don't have a 5th, but that's okay because you can win with 3 great guys and they've got 4 really good ones. I honestly
looked a little bit better yesterday.
Yeah. And, to me, my favorite player to watch is Jordan Miller. I mean, everyone talks about, Nigel Pack shooting from half court every time because he doesn't like to just stand on the 3-point line because, he'd have to look down, see where the line is, and then shoot it. It's much easier if you just shoot it near half court where you already know you're past the 3-point line. You don't have to worry about it. So genius. I mean, Nigel Pack is a genius. Everyone should take lessons from him on where to shoot from. And of course, it's exciting. It's exciting, of course, to watch Isaiah Wong dribble uncontrollably towards the rim and to just throw the ball up wildly and watch it go in. But Jordan Miller, to me, is the player who plays under control, with the most discipline, does everything well, defense, just his attention to detail and understanding of the game. he is way above everyone else on that team. I almost want him to play point guard sometimes. I'd love to see him just handle the ball. Like, why not? I mean, he can do everything. Like, sometimes I don't love it when they have, Isaiah Wong seems a de facto guy to go to at the end of games when they're down by a point. I feel better with the ball in Jordan's hands because if he's doubled, he's not going to throw up a wild shot or turn it over like somebody else I'm not going to name. He'll find the open guy for an open shot to win it. So, that's just me. I'm not the coach, but I really love what Jordan Miller brings to the team, period. I actually think he might be their best player all around.
Okay. I mean, you could have that debate. I mean, Wong's the scorer, but Jordan Miller does have maybe a little bit of a different and possibly better all-around game. Yeah, I don't have any problem.
As a college player, that's what I believe.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure either one of them is an NBA player, but I would say that Jordan Miller has a better chance to be an NBA player than Isaiah Wong. I don't know that Isaiah's game is going to translate to the NBA. I think he would get eaten alive in the NBA.
I mean, Jordan Miller's a 6'7" 4-man right now, 3-4 man.
Right, but he would be a 3.
He'd have to be basically a point guard or shooting guard in the NBA. I don't know.
He'd be a 3. He would be a 3 in the NBA.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I don't know if he has a shooting range consistent.
I mean, he's gotten better at threes. I mean, he could develop it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, probably more likely to play in Europe, but
yeah. Oh, he'll be a really good European player, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not convinced Wong's an NBA player. I love him as a college basketball player, but I'm not convinced he's
No, I agree. I don't disagree with you at all. And Nigel Pack, it's going to be tough.
He's
for
definitely
him.
not an NBA player.
No, at his size, very tough for him.
No chance. No.
Yeah, but they're really look. Who cares? They're really, really good college players. We don't care. Like, it's nice for them. I mean, we do care, of course. We want them to succeed. But right now, we just want them to be really, really good college players, and they are.
I agree. So. They are very, very good college players.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about recruiting stories. We have a story on the website today that goes inside Miami's group coaching effort to flip 5-star wide receiver Jeremiah Smith from Hollywood Chaminade into the Hurricane camp. And Matt, the coaches are doing the best they can. Probably were a little blindsided by his early commitment to Ohio State. I'm not sure they were expecting that to happen so early in the process here. But they have picked up their game. Nobody knows who's going to be coaching the wide receivers this year. I still feel confident it probably will not be Josh Gaddis. But the coaches are tag teaming this thing and trying to get into Jeremiah Smith's head to reconsider Miami. Your thoughts on their effectiveness of what they're doing, or is this really a case where it's got to wait and see anyway until the whole coaching situation works itself out?
It's just unfortunate because Chaminade Madonna has to be a school that, along with St. Thomas and IMG and it's Miami Central, you go down the list. There are certain schools where you just cannot have early commitments to other schools. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It looks like people are fleeing the local area.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's just not a good look. Like I said yesterday, it doesn't bother me in terms of his chances of still being a Miami Hurricane. I mean, I predicted Mark Fletcher to Miami way before anyone else last July when he was still solidly committed to Ohio State, because you know how these things work. And quite honestly, I wouldn't mind. I still think it's 50-50 that this kid winds up at Miami. Jeremiah Smith, there's so much left to be determined over the next 11 months that I don't even understand why he would commit at this point, quite honestly. But there's rumors that there's a problem with Miami Hurricanes coaches and there's a disconnect with them and the Chaminade Madonna coaches.
Nonsense.
I think it's nonsense. I haven't heard anything like that. I know the Chaminade Madonna coaches quite well. I don't know where that's coming from. I guess maybe it's just people are speculating because this happened, but it's unfortunate. There have been some issues where Chaminade Madonna players haven't worked out at Miami. And there's obviously, look, when you kick a player out of your program or it doesn't work out, players are understandably going to be upset, and they're friends with other guys that they played with back at the high school, this is part of the problem. Like you look at a Thaddeus Franklin, right? He came to Miami over major offers, and the expectation was he was going to be a great running back here. And He did not leave on good terms. He was not happy about what happened at Miami, understandably so. But when he goes back to his high school and talks to his buddies that he grew up playing with, that's not great for Miami. It's part of the problem in the transfer era and the transfer portal era is when you have guys, and it's a reason why Khalil Brantley, for instance, Miami would never say to Khalil Brantley, sorry, you got to leave, because A, I don't think he'd find another place to play, but B, you don't want to have the bad blood. He knows everybody locally. He's from Northwestern. He knows every top recruit. He's friends with everybody. There are certain guys you just don't want out there in the ether telling guys, listen, it didn't work out for me at Miami. It's not a good situation. And this is part of the problem. And now you have Jeremiah Smith and some of these other local guys who, it's just hard to tell what's going to happen. And Mario knows better than anyone how this recruiting stuff works. He's working tirelessly to make sure that the perception of Miami remains completely positive and that recruits understand the future is a national championship. But when you're working against guys' friends who now Miami has jettisoned among the 20 players that Gary said should get kicked off the team, a little tongue in cheek there. Just always blame Gary. # always blame Gary. It's not great. It's not great. It's something Mario Cristobal has to overcome. It's never smooth sailing when you take over a program that Mario took over. And when you win 5 games, it's never smooth sailing when you have to get rid of players who are from the local area who aren't good enough. And you have to tell them, listen, son, you're not good enough. I don't know if you'll find another home, but you got to go. We need your spot. It's never going to be easy. It's difficult conversations. Those student athletes are bitter, whether they should be or shouldn't be, whether they worked hard enough or didn't work hard enough, whether they were talented enough or not talented enough. Most of them think they are talented enough. Most of them think they did work hard enough. Most of them will not blame themselves as 18 or 19-year-olds and will blame coaches and will blame the program. And that's natural, not just at Miami, but anywhere. But they go back and they talk to their friends and they talk to their family and they're bitter. And it's not great. And it needs to be overcome. It's just a fact.
All right. We've also got, I mentioned earlier the story on 4-star IMG safety Jordan Johnson Rubble. That's on the website this morning. And we also catch up with 2025 wide receiver Jade Card out of Miami, Norland, coming off his Elite Prospect Day visit to Miami. So make sure that you check that out. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. Thank you so much for starting out your day with us. If you like this show, if you like Matt Shodell, hit your subscribe button. Hit your like button.
Now you got no subscriptions. Congratulations. Genius move.
Not based on what I see, man. I see a cult developing.
They are all being sarcastic. Let me show you this tweet. Did you see this tweet? This is my favorite tweet. Let me find it for you. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Oh, here we go. I don't know if this never shows up on the phone. Let me see.
No, you better just read it.
I can't read it. Oh, gosh. You're right. I have to read it. All right.
You're going to have to read it.
It's from Young Bo, who's a big fan of mine. LOL whenever Matt Shodell of @CaneSport starts talking about his quote-unquote wife. Laugh emoji, laugh emoji, laugh emoji, laugh emoji, laugh emoji with tears. And then that's the picture that goes along with it.
Did you show it to your wife?
Of course. And my children.
What'd they say?
I'm not sure they really understood the intention of Young Bo. I think they thought that the intention was more like, why would anyone marry me versus perhaps my sexual orientation being in question. I didn't really delve into what Young Bo may have meant or not meant. I'm assuming it's the latter, but I believe my children and my wife just think that I'm so annoying. How could I be married and have children? I think that's their perception of Young Bo's intention. Oh, and also a shout out to, I apparently have my only real major following is like 10 and 12-year-olds, because there was a very nice message yesterday from a gentleman who said that, while he hates the show, his children thoroughly enjoy it. And they like the story about my hand being molested. So that was nice. It's always good when 10 and 12-year-olds get you and the adults just don't.
All right, so that's what I'm saying.
He could have said, I found the story funny, but no, he said, my 10-year-old and 12-year-old, they thought it was funny. Not, I also thought it was funny. Just something to keep in mind, sir. Next time you try to compliment me about your children thinking I'm funny, say you think I'm funny too, maybe. Even though I never, as you know, Gary, I never try to be funny. Like that, I'm not. It's sad. It's actually sad that people think it's funny because I'm just always being serious. But people perceive it as being funny. That's apparently that's part of my shtick. being serious and people just assuming I'm joking because what I say is so outlandish it has to be a joke.
All right.
Possibly be
As
serious.
I was trying to say, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube, grow our audience. God help us and help everybody, because then they have to be subjected to this.
True.
But no, we do appreciate you guys starting your day out with us, and have a great day, regardless of what you do. And we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Oh, hey, and subscribe to CaneSport.com.
You already said that. Oh, no,
No.
you didn't say that.
No,
Yeah.
I said hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. Subscribe to CaneSport.com, please, so we can continue to pay Matt and he can afford to pay the maitre d' at Joe's.
Hey,
Have a
here's
great day,
a hint for you.
Have a great
Next
day.